Fantastic. Thank you. I want to talk today about finding purpose. It's also to finding meaning in the things that happen. It's no secret that we have been forced into change due to the coronavirus epidemic. And depending on your mindset, you might be wondering, why is this happening and what am I supposed to do now? Or you might be like, oh, there's positives. It just depends on where you're coming from. Positive thinking about it, maybe some negative, look at me, poor me thinking. And we're all in different places, and that's okay because when we are forced into change, it's not a pleasant experience. We don't have that feeling and control. But I have found in my personal and professional experience that when we can find a sense of purpose and we can create meaning from whatever we are experiencing, no matter what that is, then it gives us that hope and maybe that nudge to actually move forward and do something productive with our circumstances. And the way that I learned this I kind of, it was falling upon this by accident. Back in my clinical therapy days when I was doing traditional psychotherapy, I was working with teens. I loved the teenagers. And I loved working with the teenagers that had audio and visual hallucinations. Other therapists were often afraid of them because they're like, oh, they're seeing things, hearing things. Oh my gosh, schizophrenia. I don't know what to do with them. But what I found is that they were often creative outside the box thinkers, and they just manifested their emotional struggles as hearing things and seeing things. And if you've ever sent a teenager to therapy or you're a parent of a teenager, you'll get this. They would come to therapy, they'd be like all, pissed off because their mom's making them come, and they would, sit in the chair and they'd have their arms crossed and they'd put their hoodie on and I'm not going to talk to you. So out of a place of, oh my gosh, how can I get these kids to talk because I don't want to sit here for 50 minutes in silence. I started using tools such as my crystals. I would bring my crystals to sessions, and I'd also bring either oracle or tarot cards. And I would just start throwing down tarot cards, and these kids would be like, oh my God, how do you know this stuff? What are you doing? Are you like a witch? And I'm like, well, I will be if you'll talk to me. So I started using my intuitive tools to communicate with teens. And what I realized is that they would listen to the guidance of the cards. I mean, and again, a card is just a tool. Cards aren't magic. They don't hold like knowledge. We hold the knowledge, but it's just reflective of the energy. So it would open the space for dialogue. So as I started working with these kids and they loved the cards, so I would, pull more cards for them. We started talking about purpose and their gifts because I realized that each one of them operated from a place of not really feeling confident and not really knowing who they are. So long story short, when I was able to teach them who they were at soul level, their purpose and gifts, what their strengths were, and what they could do to contribute to the world, all of a sudden their mental state shifted. They stopped hearing things, any kind of emotional stagnation was able to be released. And it really helped propel them in a direction of confidence and, oh my gosh, I have a sense of what I can do now. Yes, this is where I was, but I have this renewed sense of purpose in the world. And it was amazing the progress that these kids made when we started talking about purpose and creating meaning from what they were experiencing. What were the voices telling you and what was the reason behind that? So I thought, there really is something to feeling that sense of purpose, because when you can find purpose and meaning in any situation, then it gives you strength to move forward and do something productive with it. And why I say that we can use this quiet now to find that sense of purpose is because that quiet is essential. We now are given the opportunity to create space and room for whatever it is that needs healing within. Right now we are not going anywhere on the weekends. We're not going on like vacations. You aren't schlepping kids to every single athletic event after school anymore. The family's home, the kids are home, and we're spending more time together. It's almost like we've gone back in the 70s. Every night's a family dinner night, and we eat together at 6:30. But the reality is we have more quiet. When you think about where we came from, it's a very busy world. You're so busy, caught up in work and home and friendships and just the nuances of daily life. But more importantly, we're often caught up in the shoulds, need tos, ought tos. Oh, we have to do this and we have to do that. And because we're so busy, we're kind of like that. I think of it as like a bull on a treadmill in a china shop. We're just, going, 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 going. And then if we stop, things tend to fall apart. So we just keep going, going, going more. And what happens is we stop really listening to ourselves, and we start listening to other people and what society says and what our bosses say and what our colleagues say. And then we end up in jobs that we either love or hate. Many people hate their work, relationships that don't serve them anymore. They end up putting food in their body that they know is not supporting their healthy sense of lifestyle. And saying yes when we really mean hell no. So when we are so busy and we're not stopping to listen to what is the bigger picture here, it's just this continued spiral of a lot of times unhealthy career, unhealthy relationships, unhealthy physical body, and it creates a lot of stress and tension, and then morphs into usually some kind of serious physical disease. And that is the extreme, but I know that you understand what I'm talking about when we are just on that path of being so busy that we don't really stop and take time to think, hey, where am I? What am I doing here? Am I really happy? What is bringing me joy? And gosh, what is not going well for me? And now is a great time to use the quiet that we have to return to yourself. Now, where does this purpose and sense of like creating meaning, where does that come from? It comes from you. It comes from your soul voice. We have two voices. We have like our monkey mind, our egoic voice up here, and it's, kind of loud and chatty, and it can be critical. But we also have a soul voice that is who we are. It's our essence. It's how we were created as a soulful being. It's perfect, exactly the way it is. And it has a whole bunch of wisdom to share with you, and it can answer all your questions. But you do need to take some time to stop and listen to it and really connect. So how do we do that? Because I will tell people, listen to your soul voice, connect to your soul voice. And like, but how do I do that? How do I get to that? And I'm going to walk you through a couple steps. Now, do you know I have some free videos off my website that will walk you through this in detail. So you can go get that. It's absolutely free. I'll tell you how to do that later. But just to kind of give you an overview, the first thing is to find that quiet. You find and I say meditation, but meditation can look different. Some people experience meditative qualities when they're gardening. It's finding a place where you can maybe shut off the chatter that's going on up here and just really being in tune with what's in here, your soul voice, your inner voice, whatever you want to call it, your intuition. So you can do an activity that is like routine and rote for you, so you're not thinking about it, just to kind of silence. You can do meditation where you're sitting in silence. You can also sit and focus on your breathing. If meditation is difficult for you, do some breathing exercises. Inhale maybe for a 4 count, hold it, and then exhale, and just focus on your breath, which allows you to quiet your mind. After you become comfortable spending some time in that quiet, The best way that I've been able to support people in connecting to themselves is to get a visual as to who they are at soul level. It can be a person, it can be an animal, it can be a thing, and I'll share mine is a dragon. So I've visualized, what does my soul embody? Like, what are the energies there? And I was like, confidence, fire, energy. And I'm like, well, what relates to that? What is that image? And a dragon came up for me. So I know it sounds a little silly and cheesy, but this does work, because now what I can do when I'm trying to sort out meaning from something, or to really find my purpose in this, then I get into my quiet space and I connect with that dragon within, and I have a conversation. And that dragon within is really me speaking, but it allows me to focus on something. Because otherwise, if we're just sitting there, then all of a sudden we're like, oh, don't forget to add raisins to the shopping list. And, our mind starts to wander. But if we have an image and we have a visual as to who we're talking to, then you can sit and ask your questions. So I will sit whenever I'm struggling or trying to understand something. I will spend time and just sit with my dragon, and I will just start asking questions. What is my purpose in all of this? What can I learn from this experience? What can I do in order to maybe grow or support my well-being? What do I need to release so that I can move forward? And the key is to ask your questions, but really listen, because the voice, that soul voice, that purposeful voice, is going to sound very different than the chatter that's on up here. It's not going to be loud. It's going to be quiet and matter of fact, and it gets drowned out. It gets drowned out by the noise from your headspace, and also the noise from the world. So when you get a visual connect, start to ask your questions. Now, it may not come right away, just because it's new. It takes a little practice. It's fostering a habit, a lifestyle, and that's really what it is. Because the more that you practice connecting to this piece of you, then the quicker you can discern what is outside noise and what is your soul speaking to you. And let me tell you, it never leads you astray. Your soul is like your beacon, your North Star. It will not lead you astray. It is the divinity within you, and it will tell you exactly what you need to hear and when you need to hear it. So it's not like the false information we sometimes get up here in our head, because up here in our head space, we might have the little like angel and devil, and the angel's like, oh, you're so awesome, and the devil is like, oh, you suck, you failed at that. So we want to always go with what our soul is saying to us. We want to listen to that voice, and then we can find our purpose. Now, purpose is never a specific job. I just want to clarify that before my time is up here. When we talk about purpose, it's not like, oh, my purpose in the world is to be a doctor. That's not what we're talking about here. Your purpose is an energy. It's a way of being, and that way of being is true to you. And when you share your way of being with the world, other people gain from that. Okay, so we're not talking about a job. We're talking about, what do you have to share with the world, so that you can motivate, inspire, teach, produce whatever it is that you do best. Okay, so like I said, you can get videos at the bottom of my website to really go into I take you into understanding more about the headspace. I take you more into the soul voice, how to connect with that. And I go in and really define purpose and what that means. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for allowing me to be on here. My time is just about up. I really appreciate it. And my website is soul, SOUL, wisdom, lore, LORE.com. So go get your videos and start connecting.